Greetings and welcome to Impact with Elle. Today I want to talk about student loans, and I think there are several issues there that we should unpack. And it's not just because we're talking about student loan forgiveness and what the administration's going to do, but also kind of where this problem came from and how we've ended up here. One of my favorite economists, Thomas Sowell, wrote that prices are what tie people together in a vast network of economic activity. And prices are the regulators of a free market. An object's value in the free market is not how much it costs to produce, but how much people are willing to pay for it. I mean, let's really think about that for a minute. So you have to conform what you can provide to the economy based on the willingness of people to pay for it. Market distortions, specifically student loans due to the government intervention, have resulted in astronomically high tuition prices. And there's no end in sight on that one. Student loans didn't exist in their present form until the Higher Education Act of 1965 put in, taxpayer guarantees for loans to students. Unfortunately, and maybe fortunately, there's a few ways to look at that, resulted in a surge in students attending university. And this increased demand was obviously met by increased tuition prices. If you have something people want and there's a lot of demand for it, you can absolutely charge more for it. Why wouldn't you? In fact, according to Forbes, the average price of tuition has increased 8 times faster than wages since the 1980s. In 2018, the Fed estimated that there was $1.5 trillion in unpaid student debt. I mean, think about that. That's an enormous number, and that's what people are talking about right now in terms of loan forgiveness. And again, that's just on the taxpayers to pay for that. If you really think about it, financially, it really doesn't make sense to take out these huge loans, so often around $165,000 for a master's degree. That leads to a job in which people get paid $38,000 a year. There is no way for people to get out from under that debt. But the problem starts with the fact that they're given a blank check for education, that tuition is so high that that's the going price, and there's just no control over that. So unfortunately, we have ended up in the situation where people find it next to impossible to save money for retirement, buy a home, or have a rainy day fund because they literally have so much student debt they can't do that. Another sad fact is that student loan, unlike pretty much any other debt, cannot be discharged by filing for bankruptcy. Why? Because too many kids were going broke and bankrupt under the burden of their student loan debt, but they never got rid of that. So guess what? It's there with you for the long haul. I think that we clearly need some reform, but we need to look across the whole spectrum here, right? So, if students are given a blank check, you're going to just spend whatever because it doesn't matter. And I think that allows tuitions to go to these kind of crazy levels that they have. Obviously, I went through those numbers, and you can please look them up. Let's get this dialogue going. But beyond that, I think that those loans should only cover a portion of the tuition, that students should be responsible for another portion of the tuition, and probably also the schools should be as well, because I think that if they start having to deal with the risk and the fallout from this themselves, I think that will help to mitigate some of their kind of insane increases in where we are right now on tuition. In any event, I think they should at least share in any loss to the taxpayer. So look forward to a good discussion on this. Obviously, I'm not a big fan of the forgiveness. Well, I mean, personally, I'd love it, but I just don't think it's the right message to be sending, and that's not really where we need to be focusing on the reform.